As you know, we've been reviewing the concepts and the basics for January. We do that in every Center for Spiritual Living. And so before I start my talk, I like to do just a little refresher on the first 4 books. Works out perfect, the first 4 Sundays of the year. And so we're on to book 4, which is how to use it. And I just took little excerpts out of it. If it seems interesting to you, grab that Science of Mind textbook and read those first 4 books and see if it just doesn't just make you want to read the whole thing. All right, so one of the greatest difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. How many of us spend a lot of time in our heads, right? Not enough time actually doing it. We only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. We can talk a good talk, but until we actually see what we're doing manifested, we're not actually practicing what we're learning here. There is no doubt about the immutability and the availability of the law. The law is infinite. It is right where we happen to be at any given time. Infinite and immutable as the law is, ever present and available as it must be, the potential possibility of all human probability, it must flow through us in order to manifest for us. It has been proved that by thinking correctly and by a conscious mental use of a law of mind, we can cause it to do definite things for us, through us. By conscious thinking, we give conscious direction to it, and it consciously or unconsciously responds to our advance along the line of our conscious or subjective direction. It must and will respond to everyone, because the law, it is the law, and the law is no respecter of persons. We are surrounded by an intelligent force and substance from which all things come. It is around us in its original state, ready and willing to take form through the impulse of our creative belief. It follows that if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing not to work. Isn't that interesting? I love that. If someone says, gee, that stuff doesn't work, it's like, the universe always says, yes, you're right. It doesn't work because you're believing it doesn't work. But it's working while you're believing it's not working. All right, a practitioner uses thought definitely for specific purposes. And the more definitely he or she uses the law, the more directly it will respond to him. It's about being clear, right? While it's true that wrong conditions exist, they could not remain unless there were someone to experience them. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness. Change the consciousness and the false condition will disappear. Conditions are not entities, we are entities. Cannot that which is conscious cast out that which has no consciousness? If we properly understood, we would be able to remove false conditions as easily as Jesus did. The time will come when we will let our conversation be in heaven and refuse to talk about, read about, think about those things that not ought to be. Healing and demonstration take place as our minds become attuned to the truth of being. There is no process of healing, but there is generally a process in healing. This process is the time and effort in which we undergo in our realizations of truth. A new light is coming into the world. We are on a borderland of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. Holmes said this when he actually saw that in 1959 in the Church of Religious Science in Whittier. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it, and that's what quantum physics is now discovering to be the truth. True thought deals directly with first cause, and this science is the study of first cause, spirit or the truth, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff, and intelligence from which everything comes. The power back of creating the thing itself. And that brings me to my talk today, which is titled, Where is Your Car Taking You? Our nice little pictures here. I thought that was great when I looked online for a picture and it had all the little signs there. Where is your car taking you? So as I said earlier, during the month of January, as with most centers of spiritual living, we've been reviewing the fundamentals of the science of mind as they're outlined in Ernest Holmes' classic piece, What We Believe, which is on the back of your program, and the 10 core concepts taught in the curriculum of our Foundations of Practical Spirituality class. They are in your bulletin and as a big bookmark, which I've put on the seats because we're going to need them a little bit later. We've been skipping around with the statements and concepts depending on what we found within our umbrella theme, animating your life, through the universal principles found in animated movies. We've had we've used the animated movies Happy Feet, Finding Nemo, Shrek, and today we're going to explore Cars, which is a favorite, although I really love all of them, I really do, to illustrate our basic teachings. And up to now, we've covered 19 of those 23 concepts. Who can tell me the 19 we've covered already? I'm not going to make it because we're going to go over all of them anyway. But today we're going to cover the final 4, and then we'll have a chance to look at them all together as we close out the month. So let's review our movie for today's talk, which was actually a lot of fun this weekend because we rewatched it. First of all of the characters are cars, as you can imagine here. And even the bugs, little buzzing bugs, are little VW bugs. They're little bugs with wings. They're kind of cute. You have to give it to Disney. They're pretty amazing. Our star is Lightning McQueen. See, he's the red car there. And he's a rookie race car driver, and he's done better than any rookie has ever done, right? Starts out with a race, and he's just going, right? In fact, he's vying for the award of all awards, which is the Piston Cup. And in the opening scene, he's using the power of visualization. He's in his trailer, and he sees himself winning, and he repeats this mantra. You know, it says, #1 winner. I'm the one winner. There's 42 losers. I eat losers for breakfast. I'm faster than fast, quicker than quick. I'm lightning. Now, Lightning McQueen is really cocky, and you get to see this pretty quickly. It's like, he's a little ego issue going on here. He knows he's the best. He doesn't think he needs anybody else. And he's fired many, many pit crews, and he says, I'm a one-man show with this big, gigantic ego. He's embarrassed about his sponsor, which is Rust-eze, and he dreams of winning this race and then getting the big name of Dinoco as his sponsor. For McQueen, it's all about me, me, me. And this is the last race for the reigning champion, Strip Weathers, who will retire after this race. The race winds up in a 3-way tie between Strip, Lightning, and another car called Chick Hicks. So a car race-off is scheduled across the country. It will be in Los Angeles in a week. So they have to travel from where they are to Los Angeles. And through a series of mishaps, McQueen gets separated from Mac, which is the semi that is transporting him, and he finds himself in a little town called Radiator Springs, which is on Route 66, and at one time was a thriving tourist location. But when the interstate highway came in several years prior, bypassing it, the town almost died. I think that is a true story. They went through some towns that were off of Route 66 that didn't look... They were on, but off the highway on Route... that looked pretty dismal. The town's cars, however, are hanging in there because they believe their town will be rediscovered and come back to life. And if you want to see a real scale picture of this town, all you have to do is go to California Adventures because it's right there. They took it straight from the movie. It's part of Cars Land. Anyway, all McQueen has is disdain for this town because it's just a podunk town, right? He's a big star. And he has disdain for all of the cars in it, and all he really wants to do is get out of there and get to Los Angeles as fast as he can so he can schmooze with Danico before anyone else gets there. But because he's caused some damage in the town, he must stay to fix it. What unfolds really is his consciousness as he experiences the people in the town and ultimately gets to the LA for the race. So what are the 4 final principles this movie can teach us? Well, 2 of them are under one heading, the power of consciousness. 2 of our fundamental principles are illustrated in a particular set of circumstances. We believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. And core concept 4, spiritual mind treatment, universal good, is infinitely available. Through the science of mind treatment, we open our consciousness to receive our good. Okay, now so saying core concept 4 is illustrated in the movie is kind of a stretch, but Since it's highly unlikely you're going to find our 5-step process, prayer treatment process, in any animated movie, we're going to grab it now. However, I wouldn't put it past Disney to figure out a way to incorporate it sometime in the future, because I really think Disney is very metaphysical. And I also think that their movies, even the animated ones, are definitely geared towards adults as well as children, because there's a lot of adult humor in there. As you're watching, you're thinking kids wouldn't get this, but you get it.
Hey, you ever watch Tom and Jerry? There's a lot of adult humor. I'm watching it now going, I bet when we were kids we had no
idea what they're talking about. No idea. Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they slip in there. It's kind of fun. The purpose of prayer is to move our consciousness to a place of believing. Prayer is not for God, it's for us. God never goes anywhere. Prayer moves us closer to God, reminds us who we are, that we are actually God in expression. A sick terminal town was healed because the townspeople believed. It wasn't immediate, but it happened. Myrtle Fillmore, one of the founders of Unity, worked in consciousness for several years to heal herself. She had tuberculosis, which back in that time was not something that you could go to the doctor and just have healed. She healed it through her consciousness. She never gave up. I had kind of an experience like that where I took on a healing for myself as well. I've shared this story before, how I had hyperthyroidism. And there's a lot of things that you start experiencing when you have a hyperthyroid. You lose weight without even trying. You can eat ice cream and sit on the couch. It's kind of a good thing at that time, but a lot of other things come with it that are not so good. Sometimes you get little goiters that grow. Sometimes your hair falls out. Your heart races, and it's not a healthy thing. So I went to see the doctor, and they put me on medication, and about that time we were getting ready to move down here, and both doctors said, this will be just a stopgap. You're going to have to drink radioactive iodine, you're going to have to kill your thyroid, you're going to have to take medication for the rest of your life. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So what I did is I decided that I would do some research and see how did this come on. Now, you have to know in science, in our treatment, we do not have to know to be able to treat a cause. You do not have to know what caused it. But I, like a lot of people, wanted to kind of know. So I did some research. And it says it's caused by emotional and physical stress. Well, my goodness, my husband for 9 months was living down here while I was living up in Loomis, and 3 little girls, and getting them to school, and softball and soccer, and yeah, there was just a teeny little bit of stress. Physical and emotional, and plus the idea of packing up and moving. So I thought, well, obviously I'm not handling that very well, am I? What tools? Gee, where could I get the tools to deal with this? Well, I was a practitioner. I already had all the tools. I just wasn't using them. I started meditating. I started visualizing. I started compartmentalizing and bringing myself to a place where I didn't let the causes, the effects out there influence how I was feeling. And when I moved down here and I saw the doctor, I said, I want to start weaning myself off the medication. She just looked at me, and I said, seriously, I don't want to be on this medication. Well, she argued a little bit, and she said, all right, fine. Because they don't like to be told what to do. They want to tell you. And I said, she says, but you have to come in every month for a blood test to make sure that, this is working. And I said, fine. And I did. And that was in 1996, and I have been off any type of thyroid medication ever since. I went back to total normal. Every test has been normal ever since, and it was fine. And, it's just, you can do it. So that is my testimony on that. And as we know, the townspeople of Radiator Springs, they never gave up. Now and then they did get discouraged, because they had some disappointments in there, but then Sally would rally them around the idea that their town was being vibrant again, would be vibrant again, and they would regain their enthusiasm. She would keep the dream alive. Sally was this cute little Porsche. I'll talk about her in a little bit. She's kind of cute. So, number 2, a personal God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. That's how we know God, by feeling the indwelling presence. So, as I said, Sally is a powder blue Porsche with a little pinstripe tattoo. And she was formerly a high-powered, successful corporate lawyer, but left it all to live in Radiator Springs because she fell in love. Not with a person, but with the environment. In a particularly moving scene, she and McQueen are looking over this vast vista. I mean, they're just up on the hill. Have you ever been like at the Grand Canyon or in the desert and you just see all of the buttes out there and the beauty? Oh my gosh. And they were just in awe of the beauty and the enormity and the majesty. I mean, how can you not see God, right? And even though it was animated, I would say that we were looking at the face of God. And more importantly, I felt God. I mean, their animation tools, Pixar is amazing. It looks like you're looking at the real thing. And McQueen said, look at all those cars, because they see the highway down there, driving right by. They don't even know what they're missing. How often in life do we drive right by opportunities to feel the presence of God? Think about that as when the next month or so, when you're driving by one of the orchards and they're all a riot of white blossoms or pink blossoms, right? We are so busy, we're so involved, so angry or on task that we don't take time to have that personal experience of God. We have our lists, don't we? I don't know, are you a list maker? I'm a list maker. And we want the thrill of crossing off one more thing off that list. I know sometimes I even add more things on at the end of the day just so I can cross them off, right? And sometimes it seems like the amount of items on that list never diminishes. You just carry it forward to the next day and add more. Meditation is a powerful practice for this, but I'm not talking about just that. I'm talking about in your day, do you allow for experiences to take you to a place of feeling God? Do you take a moment to see God in the sunrise or sunset? You know, the background picture was one that I took out of the back of Rob's car in Idaho, because the sun was just coming out of the clouds. That was just so amazing. I go, that's going to be our background. I'll show you. But this was a picture I took. I was driving to work one morning, and I just took that picture. I don't know if you can see it. But
While you were driving?
well, yeah, actually, while I was driving.
Okay. Just
I think I was at the stop sign at I was
you
at
were
the
at the
stop.
stop
I was
sign.
at the signal at Clarabelle
Okay, you were
and
stopped.
Clarabelle and Oakdale. So I was stopped. But that's the sun rising, and it shot this. I don't know how well you can see it, but it shot the
one straight.
yeah, straight through the pink clouds. It was just
Wow.
phenomenal. I go, oh my God.
Yeah, it looks, yeah.
Yeah, I felt God. I mean, that was just amazing. Our valley is ripe for seeing God because we have so much energy and everything that's growing here. You know, people kind of, if you take what people are saying out there, the effect of, oh, how dirty and awful and icky and blah Modesto is, I couldn't disagree more. I can see beauty in all of the crops that are being grown. I can see even the trees without any leaves are beautiful out there. They're just gorgeous because I know that they're pulling in all the nutrients, getting ready to just blossom out and produce even more. I feel that energy of what's growing. It's amazing. And driving up to Knights Ferry and beyond to Jamestown, just the hills, it is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love seeing the cattle on the ranges and even the chicken farms, even though those can be a little smelly, you know. And sometimes the cows and the dairies aren't all that wonderful either, but there's an energy about it. It's kind of nice. Let's take a moment right now just to look around this room. Look at the items, the things, look at each other, and say to yourself, so this is what God looks like. Okay. Number 3, an elevated consciousness. Core concept 10. Christ consciousness. We each become the Christ, the anointed one, to the degree that we recognize our own divinity, our oneness with God. In the Science of Mind magazine, there was an article entitled, Putting on the Christ. And it said, to whatever degree we are willing and able to know our wholeness, we will expand the love and demonstrate the law of spirit, just as Jesus did. The article goes on to quote Ernest Holmes from Ideas of Power, saying, the only prophetic thing that can ever happen to you and to me is not to read, just read, what others have done, but somehow or other taking that as an example to do the same thing. And I would add, and more. Let me ask you, can you give me some qualities of Christ? What are Christ qualities?
Loves. Love.
What was that?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness, love,
Caring.
caring, patience,
Compassion.
compassion, giving, healing, being inclusive. I love all the qualities of Christ. McQueen's journey is absolutely one of connecting with this Christ consciousness, with his connection to the whole, and he exhibited many of those qualities when he went to every one of the shops, every one of the car shops in the little town of Radiator Springs, and he purchased their products and services. We think the coup de grace is when he chooses not to win the final race, but rather goes to the injured champ and pushes him over the finish line. But that wasn't all. Then he stayed with his original sponsors, the Rusties. They'd been behind him the whole time. He wasn't going to leave them and go to Dynaco. But when the Dynaco reps said that if there was anything that they could do for him to just let them know, he didn't really want anything for himself. But what he did is he got them to give a helicopter ride for his best friend, who mentioned it early in the movie that, wow, he'd sure like to have a helicopter ride. That's Mater. Well, let me go back to Mater. There's Mater. Yeah, Toe Mater. That's his name. And he said, his name's Toe Mater without the toe. And he said he would like a helicopter ride. So that is what he did. He got a helicopter ride for his best friend. Doc, who's another one of the characters, he was a previous race car driver, and the voice of him is done by Paul Newman. And he says there's a whole lot more to racing than winning. Attaining success isn't what's important. It's who you become in the process. Who do you become on your journey to success? Doc tells McQueen, you got a lot of stuff, kid. We've all got a lot of stuff. Christ stuff. So how many of you have watched any of the movies that I've talked about this month?
Cartoons are fun to watch.
If you haven't seen any of these movies, or even if you have, I'm going to encourage you to watch them and to deeply view them. Remember, we talked about deeply viewing something, not just watching it, but to look for the significant meaning. And enjoy the rich spiritual lessons that each and every one of them offer. Who would have thought we would have found this in children's movies? But then, God is all there is. Why not in children's movies, right? So the question is, where is your car taking you? Where is your consciousness taking you? We're creating our lives every day with each thought that we have. These core ideas in the science of mind can take you to a wonderful place with a wonderful journey. Does this mean that we will never hit a pothole or bump in the road? Well, probably not. But does it mean that we have a foundation to stand on, a belief system to support us, and tools to use to help us find our way around them and to get through them? I think it does. And to get us back on track when we slip, like I did when I had my little thyroid issue. So let's summarize. I want to do this by inviting you to help me. Okay? Let's take turns reading first the 10 core concepts and then what we believe. So, Allison, do you want to start with the first one of the 10 core concepts?
Yeah, God is all there is. There's one universal spirit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so God is all there is one universal spirit. Thelma, I want to read the next one.
True. Triune.
Triune.
What's it mean?
3. Father, Son, Holy
I
Spirit.
knew every word there was.
And there you go.
Triune nature of God, spirit, soul, and body.
Okay, Mickey.
The divine center strength to
Oh, creative.
creative process thought elementary created from
God's good is ever available. via prayer, belief, and acceptance.
Richard?
Free will, choice, harmonious unification of all.
Infinite abundance, limitless supply of all that is needed.
Allison?
Form reciprocates thought. What you give is what you get.
Forgiveness, perfect mind, perfect experience.
Eternal life, immortality, principle of the divining serenity.
Christ consciousness, spirit and master, corrected is love, connected in love.
Beautiful. Rich, do you want to start with what we believe? On the back?
Oh, on the back.
Can you? No, on the back of your program.
Blue one.
We believe in
You're
God.
over your chair, honey. I don't know
Live in
what
line.
mine. Okay,
Okay.
on the back.
Okay.
Billy.
We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause.
Suzanne?
Oh, this one manifests itself in and through all creation that is not absorbed by its creation.
Allison?
The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God.
We believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in us, and that all of us are incarnations of the one Spirit.
Which one's
Oh,
mine?
we believe in
In eternality.
internality. Man, they use big words. Okay.
Oh, we believe
We
in
believe in internality,
eternality,
The immortality.
and immortality, goals of life to be the
continuity.
continuity. That's the wrong one.
Oh, we
The
believe.
complete.
Do I have the right one? We believe in the
That's
internal.
Internality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever expanding.
We believe in the kingdom of heaven is within us, and that we experience this kingdom to the degree that we become conscious of it.
We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all.
Suzanne?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I would believe in the unity of all life and the highest God, and the innermost God is one God.
We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence.
We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that any person may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. And then yours is we believe.
We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through universal minds and law of God.
Okay.
We are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct influence of our thought and acts upon it.
We believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. We believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
And we believe in the internal goodness, the internal loving kindness, and the internal givingness of life to us.
We believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny.
We understand that the life of humankind is God.
And so it
And
is.
so it is.